Real Estate Exam Questions with Answers and Explanations, Part Number 17. What is the primary purpose of earnest money in a real estate transaction? A. To pay the agent's commission. B. To cover closing costs. C. To show the buyer's serious intent to purchase. D. To pay property taxes in advance. Correct answer, C. To show the buyer's serious intent to purchase. Earnest money is a deposit made by the buyer to demonstrate commitment to the purchase. It's usually held in escrow. For example, she submitted $5,000 in earnest money with her offer to show she was serious. This means the deposit confirmed her intention to follow through. What is an assignment in a real estate contract? A. The original seller changes the listing price. B. A buyer transfers their contractual rights to another party. C. The lender changes the loan terms. D. A broker gives an agent a new client. Correct answer, B. A buyer transfers their contractual rights to another party. Assignment allows a party in a contract to transfer their rights and obligations to another person. For example, the investor assigned the purchase contract to another buyer before closing. This means the second buyer took over the deal under the same terms. What is the main difference between a lien and an encroachment? A. A lien impacts use, an encroachment impacts value. B. A lien is a financial claim, an encroachment is physical intrusion. C. A lien is temporary, an encroachment is permanent. D. There is no difference. Correct answer, B. A lien is a financial claim, an encroachment is physical intrusion. A lien is a legal claim for money owed, while an encroachment is a structure that crosses onto another's land. For example, the contractor filed a lien for unpaid work, while the fence was an encroachment from the neighbor. This means one issue involved money, the other land boundaries. Which type of listing allows a seller to list with multiple brokers and pay only the one who brings a buyer? A. Exclusive agency. B. Exclusive right to sell. C. Open listing. D. Net listing. Correct answer, C. Open listing. With an open listing, multiple brokers may market the property, and only the one who produces a buyer gets paid. For example, the seller used an open listing, so only the agent who closed the sale earned a commission. This means the agreement was non-exclusive and performance-based. What is the main purpose of zoning laws? A. To determine property taxes. B. To prevent land development. C. To regulate land use for health, safety, and welfare. D. To encourage rapid construction. Correct answer, C. To regulate land use for health, safety, and welfare. Zoning laws divide land into categories, residential, commercial, etc., and restrict how property can be used. For example, the zoning laws prohibited a gas station in a residential neighborhood. This means the use was not permitted in that zoning district. What is the role of a mortgage broker? A. To lend money directly to the buyer. B. To represent the buyer as a real estate agent. C. To connect borrowers with lenders for a fee. D. To provide legal advice at closing. Correct answer, C. To connect borrowers with lenders for a fee. A mortgage broker is a middleman who shops around for loan options on behalf of the borrower. For example, her mortgage broker found her the best rate by comparing multiple lenders. This means the broker wasn't the lender, but arranged the loan. Which type of tenancy occurs when a tenant stays without the landlord's permission after the lease ends? A. Tenancy at will. B. Tenancy in common. C. Tenancy by the entirety. D. Tenancy at sufferance. Correct answer, D. Tenancy at sufferance. Tenancy at sufferance arises when a tenant remains without permission after a lawful tenancy ends. For example, the tenant refused to leave after the lease expired, creating a tenancy at sufferance. This means they stayed beyond their legal right to occupy. What is a cap rate used for in real estate investing? A. To calculate a loan's interest rate. B. To assess income potential of a property. C. To determine property tax value. D. To measure appreciation. Correct answer, B. To assess income potential of a property. A capitalization rate, cap rate, is used to estimate return on investment based on a property's net income. For example, the apartment complex had a cap rate of 7%, showing its investment yield. This means the property's income divided by its price gave the investor a 7% return. What does it mean when a property is under contract? A. It is listed for sale. B. The buyer has made an offer, but it hasn't been accepted. C. The seller accepted an offer and both parties signed a binding agreement. D. The appraisal has been completed. Correct answer, C. The seller accepted an offer and both parties signed a binding agreement. Under contract means both buyer and seller have signed the purchase agreement, and the sale is in progress. For example, the home is under contract, so it's no longer available for new offers. This means the deal is pending and both parties are bound to it. What is a net lease? A. A lease where the tenant pays rent only. B. A lease where the landlord covers all expenses. C. A lease where the tenant pays rent plus property expenses. D. A lease with no term limits. Correct answer, C. A lease where the tenant pays rent plus property expenses. In a net lease, the tenant may be responsible for taxes, insurance, and maintenance in addition to rent. For example, in her net lease, she paid base rent plus all building operating costs. This means she carried part of the landlord's financial burden.